Premier Doug Ford, I haven't had a one-on-one with you since the day after you were elected.
I know. Jeez, I miss you.
Somehow I doubt that.
Yeah, that's all good.
Let's start by talking about the Financial Accountability Office report today. And he is saying that there will have to be double the cuts, $6 billion in cuts, 1% reduction to a 1% reduction in spending. The lowest amount of spending since the Mike Harris days. Is that going to be painful?
Well, I'm glad he approved of our budget, saying it was reasonable and responsible budget, and
He didn't quite say that. He's pointing out, though, that there's going to be a lot of cuts.
Well, he pointed out that we're on the right path. For our budget, we're doing it responsibly again and reasonably and thoughtfully over a 5-year period. I just don't know when people say, are the cuts hurting? Well, education, we're increasing by $700 million, healthcare by $1.3 billion, and we have to find efficiencies to make sure Ontario is sustainable, the financial shape of our province, because right now we inherited a $15 billion deficit, a $347 billion debt, the largest sub-sovereign debt in the world.
Do you think, though, did you sell voters a bit of a false bill of goods when you were campaigning? Because you were saying you could find efficiencies. You made it sound like it wasn't going to hurt that badly and that there wouldn't be job losses.
No, there hasn't been.
Well, but autism therapists, for example, are losing their jobs in droves, right?
Let's go back. There hasn't not frontline worker has been laid off. No teacher's going to lose their job.
But jobs are being eliminated.
Well, again, no teacher's going to be losing their jobs, and no frontline person's going to lose their jobs. But I ask you, Cynthia, can we go on spending the way we've been spending? No, we're asking for efficiencies at all cities, municipal levels. For instance, the City of Toronto, we're asking for 1%. And I ask the people at home, do you think there's 1% savings at the city? 1 penny on every dollar? And the question's yes. People do it at home every day. Find 1, 2, 3, 4% in their own budgets. So,
but are you essentially downloading the problem onto cities, onto municipalities?
Well, actually, we're uploading one of the biggest costs to the city, and that's transit. We gave the City of Toronto and the region $28.5 billion present. Eventually, we're going to be uploading $20 billion off their books of backlog repairs. So I think we're doing great things for GTA and Toronto, not mentioning the province. Our economy's on fire right now. We've created the environment for 170,000 new jobs. And the question that I might get asked, are we better off now than we were a year ago? We're not 10 times better off. We're 1,000 times better off financially. 170,000 people are out there with bringing home a paycheck every week that weren't bringing home a paycheck last year at this time. So our economy's booming because of the policies we put forward.
I think generally people, though, are very uncomfortable with the cuts to public health. They're very concerned about that. Now we're hearing the alarms that paramedics are going to be facing cuts as well.
That's not accurate. No paramedics are...
But the budget is being reduced.
But we're going to drive efficiencies. Every single area has to drive efficiencies. And again, the City of Toronto, is there 1% savings at the city?
But did you give the city a fighting chance? Because you didn't tell them before they tabled their budget.
No, but we did. So during the election, we ran on reducing the size and cost of government. Our fall economic statement, when the mayor was in here numerous times, we said we have to find efficiencies. We aren't asking for the 10% that we were able to find. We're asking for 1% off the city, and they have two answers. We're going to cut, or we're going to raise taxes. Our third is, why don't you try finding efficiencies that their own auditor has come up with 228 recommendations and they haven't taken them. Why?
But did you have a conversation with Mayor Tory and say, before you table the budget, this is what you have to cut?
Well, we told him that we need his cooperation. We're uploading billions of dollars on our backs. We need to partner. Now, keep in mind, 90%, 92% of all money from the province goes to our partners, municipalities, colleges, universities, and hospitals. And they need to show some support.
But you have 28 mayors who have all signed a letter, including John Tory, saying these are cuts by stealth.
Well, that's 28 mayors that we give money to. I didn't hear a word from John Tory when we're giving him billions of dollars. I didn't hear a word from the mayor of Ottawa when he asked for the $1.2 billion for his LRT. He was happy as punch, or the mayor of Hamilton. Get with the times. We're handing the money over. Find 1%, 2% savings. That's all we're asking. Again, the people sitting at home watching this on their couch or their dinner, they look at it and say, we find 1 or 2%. Bloated government can't find 1 or 2%. It's not the end of the world. The economy's booming right now. Find the savings. That's all we're asking.
Your budget, when it was first introduced by Minister Fedeli, seemed quite reasonable and not too painful. And then since that budget was tabled, cut by cut by cut has emerged. Do you think it was handled? Would it have been better to just give everybody the bad news in the budget instead of daily having to fend off reports of more and more cuts?
Well, the budget was open to the public. They could read the budget.
But it didn't have a lot of details. I mean, I read it in lockup.
We were very responsible in that budget. We were being criticized from the right that we didn't cut enough. Criticized from the left, we cut too much. We have to be sustainable. We have to make sure that we don't carry on with a $15 billion deficit. We reduced it to 11.8, which is reasonable. And the debt that we're paying, again, $1.5 million an hour, $36 million a day on interest alone.
Okay,
That's not sustainable.
Last question, because I'm getting the wrap, and I promise to keep it tight. Do you think you're losing the war in getting your message out properly to voters? I know yesterday you said, I don't believe polls because the only one that counts is Election Day. But 3 polls have now come out suggesting that you're slipping. You've been booed twice, which must be really embarrassing when you're on stage.
You love saying that.
I don't love saying that. I think it would be so mortifying.
So the last poll was a union poll. The other
Yeah.
was tied in. So I'll put out a poll that actually we put out in early January. No one would take, that we're doing very well. My polls, when I go in the back of factories, when I go in offices, and people are telling me, Doug, keep going. The whole world doesn't evolve around downtown Toronto. I know a lot of media believe it revolves around downtown Toronto, but there's vast regions throughout this province that say I favoritize Toronto too much. Well, we have to be fair to everyone across the board. And as for one guy at the collision last night, it was one guy that went there. He texted me last night, all proud that he was the guy booing me. Well, when we have 1,000 people from around the world, they were clapping. One guy's out there booing. So be it. I'm not worried about the guys who aren't going to vote for me now or 10 years ago or the next 10 years. I'm worried about the average person having to pay taxes, are tired of being gouged by the government, all 3 levels of government. They have no more money. I ask everyone, what's their solution? Their solution is to keep raising taxes. Keep gouging the taxpayers. Ours isn't. Ours is reducing taxes.
Are you having fun? I mean, people either love you or love to hate you. It seems like there's no in between.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I love it because I'm energized. We are making a change here in Ontario. We are going to have the most prosperous province anywhere in the country. We're well on our way. Our province is thriving economically right now. It's booming. We don't have enough people to fill the jobs. It's all because of our policies. Government doesn't create jobs. We created the environment for companies to thrive. There isn't a business out there that isn't as happy as punch with our government. So when companies do well, their employees do well. When employees do well, communities do well.
Premier, I think I'm going to get the hook, so thank you very much. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you.